I want to show you 2 examples of how to use this and some techniques that I would recommend. This is number 56 right here, which you can see is in the pack down here. It's the F minor sample. All right, so if we play these on top of each other, sounds pretty good, but it's maybe a little muddy because both the signals are going to be mono. They're going to be on top of one another, and there's no sense of space. So the first thing I would recommend trying is just pan them totally apart. Hard pan 50-50 each side. And listen to this. Much more of a greater sense of space, I would say, and you get the stereo interplay between the 2 channels, which is great. The other option that you can try is we keep the dry signal in the middle. I'm going to play this over a beat in a second so you can hear it in context, but you keep the dry signal in the middle and then the wet space echo sample also in the middle, but we're going to use a Haas effect to widen it. You could use whatever widening tool you have. But this is one I just made out of a delay. It's really simple, just a delay with no feedback, all the way wet. One side as fast as it'll go, and the other side anywhere from like 3 to 10-ish milliseconds. You could play with it, but that'll start to create some width for you through the Haas effect. But again, you could use whatever widening tool you have. And here's what that sounds like. So in other words, we're keeping this one mono, and this one is getting stereoized to sound wider, right? So I'm gonna rock with this for the sake of our example. Now I prepared a little bit of music just to hear it in context. This is just a drum fill and a loop. So let's play that together. Get the idea. All right, there's some basic effects. The loop just has a little bit of filtering and some saturation. I'm going to show you some effects as we go, but that's really it. And then below this, right, we have a bass synth that I've loaded up. I'm going to go ahead and make a blank MIDI clip and start drawing in a bass line just to show you how quickly some of this stuff can come together. So I'm going to start with an F because we're in F minor. So pretty quickly. Now this is something that sounds more like a section of a track. Then, like I said, I'm going to get into some other effects to push this even further. So on our space echo stem, instead of just having the Haas effect, I'm going to add in some other things that help widen it, right? So that's where we're starting. Here's a chorus effect. Now just to help with the space, this compressor is set up to sidechain to our drum loop. And then finally there's some auto panning, and I went in with the pencil tool and just automated the rate. This can really be like whatever you want it to be. Just do something like this and then break it up a little bit. Let's see. So I hope you see the idea with this. The basic gist of it is I wanted to make a sample pack that minimized the amount of like figuring out I have to do in terms of getting the key together and stretching the tempo and all that. So you can just jump in and start making music and making these stems your own for what you produce. All right, so for the second example of another way you could get started using Vision Magnet, I wanted to do something totally different. So instead of writing along to one of those textures and writing in like a bass line or another synth part, I wanted to chop up one of those textures. So what I have put together for this example is I just have a simple drum loop that I warped to the tempo. Right, so this is in time. Right, and then I took this same F minor texture, this dry one, and I dragged it into the Ableton simpler device and put it into slicing mode. You can use whatever you're comfortable with for this. It really doesn't matter if you have Ableton or not. You can use the Logic sampler, you could use an MPC. I mean, it's really, you could use a machine, it's endless what you could do. But as long as you have something that can slice it up, or you could even slice stuff by hand, but this is just how I like to do it. This is what I'm comfortable with. So I went in and put in some markers here to define my slice points. And then I went and got my MIDI controller here so I can actually play this in, right? So I have this to trigger my actual sample points with. And then I have this little Korg Nano control over here, which I use one of the knobs, or one of the sliders, to control this wet dry on a delay. And then I had a performance setup. So instead of having to draw everything in with the mouse, I could just play it in and jam with the drum loop, which is awesome. So this is what that is like.